What they don't realize is your competitors did the same crappy version of market research that you're doing, and they copied their competitors who copied their competitors who copied their
Right.
competitors, and nobody did the math. And it really doesn't matter because the math in your business, your revenue needs are different from every other business out there.
Well, hey, welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show. And this episode, I'm super excited to introduce you to Erin Haag, who is the creator of Pricing Overhaul, a proven method helping entrepreneurs shift their money mindset, yay, restructure pricing for profitability, critical, and pay themselves abundantly. With over 20 years of pricing strategy experience, she works with global corporations and small businesses to increase profit with ease. She founded the Pricing Overhaul Academy, certifying coaches to use her method. And she's also the best-selling author of Give Yourself a Raise, the mindset and math you need to get to your first million. Off the clock, Erin is a mom of two who enjoys travel, wine, and cheese. Erin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
What is something that you wish that more business owners and founders knew about pricing that you find that they often don't? They don't realize.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one is that their competitors mean less than we believe that they do. And I think
That's
that,
so interesting, right? So we often will look at who's charging for what, and that has less to do with it. Ooh, we're going to unpack that.
yeah, I would say most entrepreneurs, they do, one of two things. Primarily, they do what they believe is market research. And the market research really isn't true market research. It's just price comparison. And then they are looking at what everybody else is charging. They're assuming, oh, they look like they're successful. They must be charging the right amount. I have to charge that amount, or I have to charge less for a competitive advantage. But what they don't realize is your competitors did the same crappy version of market research that you're doing, and they copied their competitors who copied their competitors who copied their competitors, and nobody did the math. And it really doesn't matter because the math in your business, your revenue needs are different from every other business out there. And I just think that we put way too much importance and weight in our competitors and what our competitors are doing and charging.
This is so interesting. So let's unpack just for a second. I noticed you hovered a bit about, they think they're doing market research. So what would real market research look like?
Yeah, real market research is actually not doing it at all. And I know that there are going to be a lot of people who are like, what? Don't do market research? And I'm like, the market research that you have to do is actually the financials, what it's going to cost you in this so-called market to run this business, how much it's going to cost you to hire the team, how much you have to pay yourself, and then how much you need to generate in order to have a healthy profit margin.
Talk to us a little bit more about
Okay.
that.
I mean, sure, market research. Look at what your competitors are charging. Look at what your competitors are selling. Look at who your competitors are selling to. But don't let that make decisions for you. Do not make decisions based on that. It's okay to know if for any other reason than to know how you're different from the rest of the market. And so when
I can totally get behind.
Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
absolutely. Yeah.
I knew I was really in somehow, but it's really so that you can just see and you can speak intelligently to, yeah, the other places charge this, they offer this. We do things differently. And when you do that, you create a market of one. And when you create a market of one, you're not competing with anybody else.
That's so true and so good. I mean, when I was starting out as a brand new entrepreneur and a coach, and I was looking left and right at what people were comparing to, I think you really do have a very strong point about like so careful about what you're calling market research, because it could be just comparison. I remember being in the coaching certifications, and everybody was kind of throwing numbers around, and they were like, "Yeah, I'm going to charge $50. I'm going to charge $150." And I was the girl with the red glasses, and I was just like, well, maybe not at the time, but I was bold. Said, I'm going to do 500. And I thought about that, and I was just like, man, that was just, a
Well,
silly
that's just it.
conversation, because it had
And it's like,
nothing to do
so
with
what?
who the market is, had nothing to do with what I was offering, had nothing to do with any of that. But, making the decision to outperform made a huge difference because I ultimately ended up selling coaching packages on the order of tens of thousands of dollars as opposed to hundreds.
Yeah, when people just arbitrarily throw out prices, a lot of people will say within initial conversations with me, "Well, do you think that this is the good price for it?" And I'm always like, I don't know. I don't know your numbers. Like, I can't say if this is a good price for you to charge because I don't know how much it costs you to run your business. I don't know what you have to pay yourself. I don't know what your profit targets are. Like there are so many things and it's really easy for business owners to just throw out these arbitrary numbers and especially tie that to well, the market right now only right, exactly. The market right now only justifies this price point and I'm like, "Okay, but if you were to look at the P&L statements for your competitors, I can guarantee that you're going to find that they have zero to no profit. Well, zero is no profit.
Yeah, or like negative, and then negative story. And I think that's the thing too, is like when you look at your finances, you can't just look, well, I mean, you can, and people do, but it's problematic to look at just a point in time. So, I used to manage my money by my bank account, right? Because I didn't know better and I didn't have better tools, but you can have up months, you can have down months, you can have investment months or quarters
Mhm.
or years. And being able to not just look at things in a snapshot, but also over time. And the thing is like you're not privy to a lot of that information. A lot of the publicly available financial information for businesses, those are for publicly traded companies, which is
Companies.
a very unrelatable experience for a
Right.
small business owner.
Yeah, it's so true. It's so true. And I happen to have that like backstage peek into what's really going on because I have seen under the hood of thousands of businesses and I've looked at their P&Ls and I've looked at their margins and I'm going to tell you right now the vast majority of small businesses out there are not profitable, are not making money. And it just blows my mind when somebody says, "Well, I can only charge this because of that person." And I'm like, "Do you know if they're making any money?"
Yeah, yeah, it's like that old adage of just be careful of who you take your advice from. Like,
Yes.
would you trade places with them? And you're right. I mean, I think that profit is one of those conversations. In fact, I'm thinking about the Profit First book that Mike Michalowicz wrote. So,
I
dear reader, if
love
you're checking
that.
it out,
Yes.
that's, in my opinion, required reading for entrepreneurs. But like the first chapter, he talks about how when we go networking, it's not like we're comparing P&Ls about it. And they don't talk about how they have like time poverty and they have financial poverty. And this business that starts out as a great idea and a great vision ends up being like this little monster that eats itself and the
Yeah, it's
owner.
like a ball and chain. They've literally enslaved themselves to a job that they can't get out of.
Yeah, rough, super
Yeah.
rough. Okay,
Yeah.
so what do we do about it? You've got a whole process. I know we probably don't have time to unpack everything,
It's
but like
okay.
in three big moves, like what can someone do if they suspect that they've fallen into the comparisonitis trap on pricing
Yeah.
and they want to get out of it? And maybe they have like existing clients, maybe they're wanting to start out the right way. But I think this pricing conversation is especially hard if you've been doing one thing and now you want to do something new.
Yeah, so I would at first you have to like do a profit analysis and you have to see where you actually are. It's like when anytime if you're like, I want to lose weight, well, you have to step on the scale for the first time to see what you're measuring up against. Okay. So it's the same thing. You have to do the profit analysis first. You also, not just the profit analysis, but you actually have to analyze your revenue sources and your offers. Like how much revenue, what percentage of revenue is coming from each offer? How profitable is each offer? How many clients do you have in each offer? Which clients are worth the most? So you need to know your monthly client values within each offer. Like you need to do those basic measurements. And then you have to put that aside and you have to dream up your ideal business scenario. In my
Hmm.
dream world, I want X, Y, and Z, which tells you how much money you need to generate every single month. And then based on how your business is performing with clients, we have like these calculations that determine your ideal monthly client value, how much each client must be worth to you within each of your offers. And when you know that, then you're able to see, man, my clients are only worth this amount to me, but I need it to be here. Where's that discrepancy? And what is now the strategy to increasing my monthly client value?
So good. So good. My coach always reminds me, Amanda, goals make demands. And I'm like, dang, that's super true. And so if you have a business that, let's just say you want a lifestyle supporting business, like I encounter so many entrepreneurs who justify a poor performing business on the basis that money is not that important to them, or that they don't need it, or that they're dependent on their spouse, or what the bleep ever. And I'm like, you realize, like, if you had a well optimized, profitable company, you get to hire help to do the things you don't want to do. You get to impact more people. You get to impact people in a deeper way. And, speaking from personal experience of everything that you're talking about, of like walking through all of these details, it's really quite nutty what we'll end up putting a lot of energy towards that's not serving the goal. And then when you're thinking about the overall goal, you're realizing like, oh my gosh, my capacity is completely, occupied by these decisions that were emotional and not really,
Yeah.
calculated in
Well,
black and white. It's
and I always
calculatable.
say, this idea, this notion that people aren't really doing it for the money is complete and total bull. Am I allowed to curse? BS. Because we are all literally doing it for the money. We all need money. Most of us desire money, and it doesn't make us morally like deficient if we do. And if we weren't doing it for the money, most people wouldn't be doing what they're doing at all. If everybody who says, I'm not doing it for the money, were sitting on some trust fund worth billions, chances are they're not going to be doing what they're doing right now. They're going to be doing something else. And so
Absolutely.
we
It's the
really,
system in which we operate. I mean, like, it is the system in which we operate. What do you think is going to happen when you don't have the same energy in your old age, right? Like, people
right.
stay in jobs that they hate to pay for that possible future. And I think, like, as an entrepreneur, you have so much opportunity to do something that you genuinely enjoy, at least in large acts.
Yeah,
You have so much freedom, but, people don't activate that.
they don't.
So good. Well, Erin, what is the best way for people to like follow you and find out more about your pricing strategies and
Sure.
yeah, raise their
Well,
prices with confidence?
yes, yes. So a couple of different ways. The easiest is to find me at pricingoverhaul.com. And I actually have a gift for your listeners. If they go to my website, they can download a free sample of my book, which they can do. And then that outlines my entire price and overhaul method. Like you could read the book and implement a price and overhaul in your own business on your own if that is what you want to do.
Love it, Erin. Listener, if you didn't memorize all that, don't worry. We've got it in the show notes below. Erin, thank you so much for spending some time with us today.
Thanks so much for having me.
Goodness, what a great conversation. Listener, I'm sure you've got friends who they're undervaluing their effort, they're over delivering and not getting compensated fairly. Grab the link to this episode, like right now, and send it to them, on text or send it over email, however you guys communicate. Send it to at least 3 of your friends. And I'm just going to go ahead and say it, especially if they're female entrepreneurs, because they need to hear. They need to hear what we talked about today, and they need to really examine owning their worth, right? So do share this with some of your friends. And by the way, you don't want to miss another episode. So make sure you hit subscribe wherever you love listening to us. That also tells us if you particularly like this episode. And finally, if you really do love the show, a 30-second review is absolutely priceless. We really, really value that. So just take a moment to share with us what you love about the show, and it'll help future listeners decide if they want to spend time and learn cool things. All right, my friend, we'll be back with another episode super soon. And until then, do what matters.